Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the next real-life what if COVID never happened? Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, every Google Doc, and everything else the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick channel, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. So this is the next real life what if. What if COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever the frick you want to call it, what if it never happened? So, for those not familiar with our world, and I highly 1000% doubt that anyone could not be familiar with this, COVID-19 appeared in the middle stages towards the end of 2019. It started out so small that many of us, especially in various parts of the world, didn't think that it was that big a deal. But it just, like any disease, virus, problem, everything has a lasting effect. And COVID would mark a lasting effect going into 2020, where not only would the virus get so bad that it would actually start to affect us by killing people, getting them even more sick, and putting the world in a state of lockdown so severe that it would be completely unrecognizable for the next year going forward. People would have to start to wear masks everywhere they went, even in their own homes. Businesses, estates, stores, movie theaters, you name it. Everything was closed because of this. And said stores were almost completely barren of cleaning products, paper towels, toilet paper, sprays, supplies, you name it. Almost completely barren. And as for movies and shows and business ventures and developments, it would all be halted, delayed, and slowed down. And our presidency, the way that it affected through Biden and through Trump, COVID would have marked a great deal of time, whereas the presidency between both Biden and Trump would be greatly affected, as we know that it is today. And we would not see a slight sense of normal until almost the end of 2021. And even after, our world is still affected by what happened that year. But what if it didn't happen? What if coronavirus COVID-19 did not put our world in the position it was, and either something took its place, or we remained the exact same as we once did 5 years ago? So, spoiler alert, just like the Roman one, this is going to be another discussion with myself face to face for this particular what if. Not because it's easy to discuss like the Marine accepting Roman thing, but because there's so much implications that I need to dive into face to face, that putting it into picture format and getting all that stuff is just way too needless a process. It's better to explain this to you guys personally, to get you guys to understand the true implications that no COVID would have on our world. Let's start with what we know. As I've already stated, in 2019, yeah, we knew about COVID, and nobody thought of it at the time. We're like, okay, it's just something small, you know? But then we get 2020, and it's like, okay, now it's a bit of a problem. But then more and more and more and more and more stuff happened. People ended up passing because of it. Businesses closed. Movies, shows, everything was delayed and put into a position where the human race, it was questioned as to, could we get out of this? We had been through big, huge events in our life. We had been through wars. We had been through the Black Death. We had been through so many dang things that this put us in a position where the human race was at a stalemate, where it was like, for the next year after it happened, and even a bit afterwards, how could we get back to the human world we knew? And the answer, we couldn't. Just because 2022 passed us and it seemed like it was not a big deal anymore, the world was never going to be the same. The human race had changed. Technology had become a bigger thing than ever. It had become to a point where even right now, as I'm looking at you, we had advanced more than we thought while downgrading past what we were before. And what I mean by that is that we were put in a position where things like TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, everything you could do mobily or on your screens was everything in a time that we desperately needed to cling to hope, to push us forward and find a way out. And afterwards, things slowly started to get better. But it always begs the question, what would our world look like if we had never left the way that we were 2019 going into 2020 and beyond? What would our world look like right now if COVID-19 did not happen? Well, for starters, everything would have stayed relatively the same for a great deal of our lives. Think about it. Businesses would have remained open, and the presidential debates and everything that had been going on, heck, Trump might still be president, Biden might still have gotten to be president, but with no COVID, there would be far less to worry about, in my opinion. And businesses would not have been closed. We wouldn't have been confined to our homes, which, don't get me wrong, that had a huge amount of advancement on technology. So if anything, it might have dialed it down, in all honesty. But if we did advance the way that we did with technology as we have right now, it still would have been much slower, because COVID put us in a situation where technology, it was our savior. We could actually go and find jobs online and be able to do things online and keep a mode of ourselves that we were not entirely on a stalemate with the human race. You know, it was our saving grace. But yeah, businesses would have remained open, and movies, shows, production, everything in the world, it would have kept going. Sure, like maybe things like the SAG-AFTRA strikes and wildfires and things like that still would have happened, but a lot of our world would have remained peaceful. It would have been just the same as it has been. And for many of you who remember what life was like before COVID affected our world and made it completely unrecognizable, for better or worse, it would have put our world into either a slower moving and yet much more peaceful time like it used to be, or made the growing into 2025 right now even huger. And honestly, for better or worse, like, sure, there are people who have passed and things that have happened in our world, but if this year's gone on to show anything, we've still advanced. And it also would have affected things like the Russia-Ukraine war. Maybe that wouldn't have even happened. But knowing the human race, COVID most likely not happening would have X'd out almost 99 problems that the world has had since then. But who knows, 99 more could flick up in the blink of an eye. It's all down to what would take COVID's place. Because there have been wars, the Black Death, there have been plagues, there's been, infectious animals, diseases. So if COVID didn't happen, it's all down to what would take its place. Would it be a war? Would World War III happen? It's all just down to what the human race or what our planet would have in store for us, Mother Nature. But honestly, I think COVID not happening would make our world much better. And it would have kept our peace and the world that we once had going. But it might have also slowed the adaptability of things like technology and kept a lot of things that we've advanced because of staying home and because of COVID and putting us in the situation. It might have actually devolved us 50% while advancing us 50%. So if you think about it, the entire idea that COVID not happening, or that a fact that it did happen, it's basically a role reversal. So if you really think about it, COVID happening was a blessing and a curse to our human society. Because we've dealt with worse, but we've also dealt with the same amount of crap. Something will always happen in our world that forces us into a situation where we have to figure out what to do. And that's never going to change. So, there's not too much else to really talk about besides the fact that COVID not happening puts our world in a 50-50 where it advances us while putting us down. But honestly, it's hard to say, because I bet that even a lot of people, especially 5 years after it happened, going on 6, probably don't even remember what life was like before COVID because of how much has happened since then and the amount of time that it took for us to get back into a system where we were living again, and especially the implications that our world, it might look the same as it did before COVID happened, but it is without a doubt not even close to the way it was before it happened. So, it's all down to you guys and what you guys think. And honestly, I think a lot of people can agree with me. It is just really hard to say, especially for those who even remember what life was like before COVID. But for those of you who truly honor what life was like before that, or think of what our society could be or could have been or anything, let me know. Because honestly, I preferred this kind of interaction for this what if. Because putting it in a picture format, that would just have been needlessly disappointing. It was much better to talk like this to you guys and give you a first-hand idea about what this would have been like, and honestly what it would have meant for our world. So, let me know what your thoughts are and what you think would have happened if COVID-19 never happened. With all that said, we're getting on to the Clara Walking Dead list format next. And after that's done, 2 more lists are going to get revealed. So stay tuned, hyped, and packed. And I hope you guys liked this decent real-life what-if on the on-growing Omniverse of Nick.
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out!